"Can I sit with you?" the billionaire asked the single dad. Unaware she was his secret donor, Marcus Coleman had exactly $4.32 left in his checking account, and he was staring at it on his phone screen when a shadow fell across his table. He didn't look up right away. He was too busy doing the math in his head. Rent due in 6 days, his daughter's asthma medication running low, and a paycheck that wouldn't clear until Friday. The coffee in front of him had long gone cold. He'd been nursing the same cup for over an hour just to justify sitting at this cafe, the only quiet place he could think in before his shift at the warehouse started. "Can I sit with you?" The voice was soft, warm, oddly out of place among the clatter of cafe spoons and hissing espresso machines. Marcus looked up and saw a woman he didn't recognize. Tailored cream blazer, curly hair pulled back with quiet elegance, eyes that seemed to already know something about him he hadn't said out loud. He blinked, caught off guard, his mouth opening before words found him. There were empty tables everywhere. She hadn't asked to sit with anyone else. She'd asked to sit with him. If this story is already pulling at something in you, if you believe people can still surprise each other with kindness, if you believe in quiet miracles arriving in ordinary places, take a second right now and like this video, drop a comment, share it with someone who needs it, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. This story is just getting started, and where it goes next might stay with you. Marcus gestured to the seat across from him, more out of politeness than desire for company. He assumed she'd mistaken him for someone else, or maybe she just needed a stranger to talk to for a few minutes before disappearing back into whatever busy life had brought her to this cafe on a Tuesday morning. He didn't know her name yet. Her name was Simone Whitaker. And 3 years earlier, before he ever laid eyes on her, she had already changed the entire direction of his life without him knowing it. Marcus was a single father raising his 6-year-old daughter Zoe alone since his wife passed away from complications during childbirth. He worked long shifts loading trucks at a distribution warehouse, coming home smelling like cardboard and diesel, checking Zoe's homework with tired eyes, tucking her in at night with stories he made up on the spot because library books cost late fees he couldn't afford. He didn't complain. He didn't have time to. Every dollar he earned went toward keeping a roof over her head and her inhaler filled, and some months that math simply didn't work out, no matter how many extra shifts he picked up. 3 years earlier, Zoe had been hospitalized with a severe asthma attack that nearly took her life. The bill that followed was more money than Marcus would earn in 2 years combined. He remembered sitting in a hospital hallway at 3 in the morning, head in his hands, wondering how he would ever pay it, wondering if he would lose his daughter's home along with almost losing her. What he never learned, what no one ever told him, was that an anonymous donor had quietly paid off that entire hospital bill within a week. No note, no name, just a wire transfer that appeared and dissolved his nightmare overnight. That donor was Simone. Simone Whitaker had built her fortune from nothing, clawing her way out of a childhood marked by instability and hunger she never spoke about publicly. She had made a private vow years ago that if she ever had the means, she would quietly catch families the way no one had caught hers. She funded medical bills, tuition, rent for people on the edge of losing everything, always through blind trusts and anonymous transfers. Never wanting recognition, never wanting the story to become about her. She had read about Zoe's case through a hospital charity liaison, approved the payment, and moved on with her life, never expecting to sit across from the father years later at a random cafe. But she had recognized him. She had kept a single photograph from the hospital's thank you file, the only case in years she couldn't fully forget. A young father's exhausted, grateful face after learning his daughter would live and his home would remain his own. She had never planned to reveal herself. She simply wanted, just once, to see how his story had turned out. As they talked that morning, Marcus found himself surprising himself with how much he shared. He told her about Zoe's laugh, about the little drawing she left on his lunch bag every morning, about how tired he was but how he never once let his daughter see it. Simone listened the way few people ever had, without judgment, without rushing him along. Something in her expression kept shifting between warmth and something closer to sorrow, though Marcus couldn't understand why. It was only when she asked gently if Zoe had recovered well after that hospital scare a few years back that Marcus felt his chest tighten. He hadn't mentioned the hospital. He hadn't said a word about it. His eyes searched her face, confusion turning into disbelief as pieces began aligning in his mind. The timing, the details she shouldn't have known, the quiet reverence in her voice. When Simone finally admitted, softly, that she was the one who had paid that bill all those years ago, Marcus sat in stunned silence, his coffee cup trembling slightly in his hand. He had spent 3 years believing some anonymous stranger had simply shown him mercy he could never repay. Now that stranger was sitting across from him, asking almost shyly if it would be all right to know him, not as a donor and a recipient, but simply as people. Marcus felt something break open in his chest, not from grief this time, but from an overwhelming, disorienting gratitude he had never gotten the chance to express. He had prayed for a way to say thank you to someone he thought he'd never meet. Now she was right in front of him, and all he could manage was a whispered, broken thank you that carried 3 years of exhaustion, fear, and love for his daughter inside it. Simone reached across the table and covered his shaking hand with hers, telling him gently that he didn't owe her anything, that watching Zoe grow up safe and loved was payment enough. But what she offered next surprised him even more. Not charity, but friendship, an open door, a chance to know a family she had quietly cared about from a distance for years. Before we reach the end of this story, if something in it stirred your heart even a little, please take a moment to comment below and tell us what part moved you most. Your words mean more than you know, and they help this story reach someone else who might need it today. In the weeks that followed, Marcus and Zoe's life slowly transformed, not through sudden wealth, but through the steady presence of someone who genuinely cared, who showed up to Zoe's school recitals, who helped Marcus find stable work using his own strength rather than handouts. Zoe grew to adore Simone, unaware for a long time of the quiet debt tied to her own survival. And Marcus finally understood that kindness, real kindness, often works in silence, waiting patiently for the day it can finally sit down, look someone in the eye, and simply ask, "Can I sit with you?" If this story touched your heart even a little, please like this video, share it with someone who needs a reminder that goodness still exists, and subscribe to Kindness Corner for more stories like this one.